Yeah, manufacturers will come and go, but customers are going to be there forever.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I would give advice on is please write better emails. Seriously, I think that's one thing that, salespeople in general, and I'm a work in progress on this. I don't have all the answers, but really make it a point to write better emails, be concise, communicate what you're trying to accomplish, communicate the goal that you're trying to help them achieve. The whole, hey, my name is Rob Brunson. I work for Wallace Electronic Sales. I hope you're doing well today. Look, if I could just get 20 minutes of your time to meet on, it's like, please stop. Oh my God. It makes us look so bad. Please stop. Just say, hey, notice you were doing this. We have this solution. Do you have any thoughts on that? Just keep it simple.
The first goal for modern marketing in today's manufacturing environment is to make sure the products stay top of mind. If you're looking for marketing industry knowledge, you're in the right place. This podcast will help you overcome your marketing and sales challenges. I'm Sannah Vinding, and in this podcast, we'll take a deep dive and explore how to succeed in the electronics manufacturing industry. Welcome to Mind Innovation Special Edition about modern marketing for manufacturing companies and manufacturing reps. We'll be talking to industry leaders about how they're meeting the needs of their B2B customers in the electronics manufacturing industry. I'm your host, Sannah Vinding, and today I have Rob Brunson with me. He's a special outside sales representative, customer advocate at Wallace Electronic Sales. Rob and I actually met because of his YouTube channel, so you need to check that one out. He interviewed people in the electronic industry for OEMs, manufacturers, and distributors, and there's also some product training. So check it out for sure. So Rob, welcome so much. Welcome today. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
It's interesting to be interviewed for once instead of doing the interviewing.
Yeah, so now you're on the other side, right? Yeah.
I'll try not to screw it up too bad.
No, you won't. So just so the listener can learn a little bit more about you, can you just tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So as you know, my name's Rob Brunson. I work for Wallace Electronic Sales here in North Carolina. We're manufacturers representatives. So we cover 6 states: North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama. Yep. No Florida. We used to cover Florida, but all of our salespeople were playing golf instead of working. So we got rid of that. Actually haven't been in the electronics industry that long. Yeah. Only been in it about 3 years. I went to school for political science. Turned out I wasn't that great of a liar. So I changed careers, and then I ended up being a chef for about 7 years at a fine dining restaurant in Columbia, South Carolina, where I'm originally from. And, wanted to make a career change somewhere where I could kind of dictate how much money I made. I like to think of myself as an entrepreneur. And so, getting out of the restaurant world and wanting to make that career change where I could kind of dictate how much money I made and, do things that are a little bit more exciting was something that was very attractive to me. So linked up with Mark and Emmett, who are the president and the vice president of the company. Awesome role models. I told them, I said, guys, look, I don't really know anything, but I'm eager to learn. I'll be a sponge and come in and work hard. And they gave me a shot. And so far it's worked out very well. So I'm really thankful for them. And I love the industry. It's exciting to be on the front end of technology and see cool things all the time. This. But it is really exciting. Yeah. So
I always get proud when I see the final product out there, right?
That's right.
Being a part of it, even though you didn't design it, but you took part of it. You're like, I did that.
For sure. You kind of view the world differently, right? Yeah. In the sense, you're driving down the road, you kind of look at an airplane a little bit differently. You look at gas pumps differently, street light, everything, your cell phone, all that stuff. Yep. So it's weird how it changes your perspective, kind of to relate it back to being a cook, when I was a chef, you look at food a little bit differently whenever you go out to eat. Yeah. It's difficult for you to not see what the servers are doing, what the hostesses are doing, what you kind of just pick up on all that. And that's kind of what it is for me now with this. It's exciting. I like it.
It is. Yeah. No. Oh, that's awesome. No, now I know a little bit more about you. So this is great. Yeah. So let's dive in, right? Because I want to talk about the digital transformation that's happening within the industry.
Sure.
And what I've seen, what you've done, I think it's amazing. So if you can go a little bit, tell me a little bit, what did you do and how did you pivot maybe, or did you just jump in and saying, I'm doing this YouTube channel because that's the way I want to be?
Yeah. So for me, obviously because of COVID, people had to pivot. I would definitely consider it a forced pivot, with just everything that happened. But for us, when we really sat down and talked about it, and this is not a knock on anyone else, but everyone was kind of doing the same thing. You know, here's our product, here's, you know, our factory, which I think those are great things. And I think that people should be doing those. For us, though, what we really wanted to do is we wanted to humanize our manufacturers, humanize certain companies, and kind of get, you know, pull back the curtain a little bit, if you will. So, you know, I work for X company. This is what we make. That's great, you know, and I think that's fantastic. But for us, it was, well, let's learn more about the person, you know. So when you're ordering this product from XYZ company and, you know, you're interfacing with this guy, whether he's an, you know, engineer within the company or, you know, a customer service person, whatever, everyone has their role. For us, it was, well, let's get to know that person a little bit more, because ultimately that's a little bit more interesting than, you know, connectors or enclosure and all that stuff. And I think those are wonderful things. But for us, it's really nice just to humanize the person who works for that company, because people are inherently pretty interesting. You know, you and I are completely different and have different, you know, interests and things like that. We probably have a lot of similarities too. But for me, it was, well, let's talk to these people and just have a long form interview, let them talk and just kind of tell them about ourselves. And it's been really successful. And I think people appreciate it. I'd like to think that, because it's not a business podcast, right? It's not, here's this awesome new product and this is what we do and we'll sell it to you for this amount of money. It's, tell me what kind of music you like, what kind of food do you like, why did you get into the industry, what does leadership mean to you? Kind of those, you know, multi-layered questions that I don't think a lot of people like to ask, because I think it's uncomfortable to do that in a business setting. But we don't shy away from it, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool. And it also goes hand in hand, right? Because the manufacturing rep is all about relationship. So by you doing this, it's building your relationship, but also bringing your customers closer to, you know, to the manufacturer or the distributor.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, I know this is going to sound really silly, but most of our manufacturers and, you know, distributors, they're really cool people. Like, you know, that may sound kind of corny, but they really are cool people. And I think whenever people get the opportunity to hear them talk and hear their life story, hear their interests, you don't say, oh, that guy makes plastic hardware. You're like, oh, that guy, you know, does, you know, street racing and, you know, had this crazy story about, you know, crossing over to Mexico. It's just cool, you know, and it adds a different layer to stuff. So that's really what it was for us. And, you know, obviously the first couple episodes, we tried to refine it. And now what it's really evolved into is just really an hour and a half conversation about, tell me about yourself. You know, we'll touch on the company and stuff like that, but that's not, you know, the real purpose of the interview, if you will.
No. But what about because again, I think it's so great that you use the YouTube channel, because engineers today and the younger engineers that's coming into the market or to the job, right? Sitting there, it's just how do we address them? Because how do they search on DigiKey or Mouser? You know, how do they design and become a great engineer?
Right. So I think the honest answer is engineers are going to reach out to you when they need you. And that's just the bottom line. So I think it is important to make yourself accessible online, whether you're a manufacturer or a distributor. Manufacturers reps play a little bit of a different role for us. It's more of relationship building and being a customer advocate, which is what we consider ourselves. So really for us, what we like to do is be on the front end of the design work. And I think if you know, you create a situation where the manufacturer, the distributor, and the manufacturer's rep have one goal, and that only goal is to make sure that their customer is successful. Everything is going to work out. And if a customer knows that you're going to work hard for them, they'll keep coming back. Part of sales is, and it's really interesting, and we could talk about this a little bit later, but you know, part of it now is you have to do some cold outreach, whether that's on the phone, which I found is somewhat successful, but most people now don't answer their office phone. It is what it is. But also with cold emailing. And I think that that's something that, you know, our industry could really work on, is cold emailing, just trying to get in front of someone, keep it simple, straight to the point, and really kind of break that ice, to start to build a relationship and keep everything really solution based. You know, as far as like digital marketing goes, marketing is one of those weird things where you never really know if it's working or if it's not working. You know, if sales are up, you can say, marketing's going great. If sales are down, you can say, marketing, you know, it's impossible to pinpoint, but I think putting your stuff out there is really important. And, you know, especially for younger people, we like videos. And I think I talked to you about this, whenever we first talked, but there's just something about videos that it's easier to interact with, right? Like, I think white papers are fine. And I'm sure people really do like white papers, some of them. But if you want to get your message across quickly, straight to the point in a concise way, you know, a 45-second video really accomplishes that.
Yeah, but that could be the appetizer, right? And then you put in the white paper, or you introduce the white paper later.
100%. It's what's your hook, right? Like, how do you get them to engage back with you? What are you saying that is really interesting? Or really what it comes down to is, what problem do you solve?
Right?
No,
that's what it is. What about, have you seen, like, if you look at the B2C e-commerce, right? Had that shaped, and we're that, right? We're part of that world. Is that shaping how the habits of the B2B customers today? Are they blending into each other?
I think it will. Eventually for me, everything is going to just be done on the internet. And that's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. But everything's going to be automated. You know, logistics are going to be automated. Payments are going to be instantaneous. So all this, you know, well, we're going to hold X amount of stock and we'll release it to you every 2 weeks, and all that stuff. It's that eventually, it could be 5 years, it could be 50 years, but eventually everything's going to be automated, where, you know, if it's a lot like Amazon. We're not there yet. But eventually people are just going to say, I want this, I need it this day, I'm going to pay you, and then everything's going to be taken care of. So I think eventually everything's just going to bleed together, and we'll have a system to do things. Also, the other thing that I think people forget, well, not forget, but maybe just don't think about, is that we are shifting towards a global society. You know, I'm sure everyone has their own political opinion on that or whatever, but just talking about what's happening, that's what's happening. So eventually all these countries and all these manufacturers who are in Asia and Europe and America, Mexico, wherever, they're going to have to figure out a way logistically to make it easy on the customer. If not, the free market's going to just naturally kick them out, and someone else will go with something else. So, like
all a global company now, right?
Pretty much. I mean, we really are, if you think about it. You know, we have Asian manufacturers, we have European manufacturers, and, you know, I was on a Teams call this morning at 8:00 in the morning with a guy in Hong Kong. Because it's 8:00 at night there, and it's just the only time that worked, but you have to get it done. So it really is the reality of the situation.
So back to how you can succeed in your job, or, you know, as a manufacturing rep. What kind of support, or what do you need? Because what do you need from a manufacturer? Right.
Well, the first thing is there has to be a good manufacturer. That makes everything easier. If you have a good manufacturer, which we're fortunate enough to have really awesome manufacturers. You know, the other thing is what we found is, and I'm sure you've probably seen this as well, especially in today's world, pricing is obviously a good thing to be competitive, but a trend that we've seen, especially with like the way the supply chain is the person who can do two things usually wins the business. Number one, get an answer back, whether that be a quote or lead time, whatever. And then number two is who can get the sample there the fastest. And that's kind of a race. That's more of a now situation instead of, you know, an extrapolated thing. But really for manufacturers, you know, we're the experts on the territory, and that's why they hire us. So for us to make our manufacturers successful, that's our job. But what we need from them is, you know, good responsiveness, you know, answering the questions that we need. We need people who are technically sound. I'm not an engineer. I don't pretend to be. So, you know, we get a lot of on the job training, and, you know, we're able to learn about what a customer needs as we work with them over the course of 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, so on. But when we ping the factory, you know, it's really important that we have some technical experts who can answer engineering questions. And then right now, you know, as you talked about too, you know, the more marketing material that we have, the better. We're pretty aggressive with our marketing compared to other rep firms. But the more digital marketing, whether that's a video for LinkedIn, some sort of a short brochure where we can it gets right to the point.
I like the short. Yeah.
Yeah, very short. That gets right to the point that we can send to our customers. All those things are very helpful. And then, samples have to be readily available, at least in the sense of, hey, my customer wants this. If it's a 12-week lead time to build the sample, whatever. But you've got to be willing to give samples out in today's world, because if you're not willing to, I promise you another manufacturer is, and they're going to position themselves better to win the business.
Yeah. So it's about speed as well.
For sure.
So I want to talk a little bit more about YouTube and LinkedIn, because you're really active both places.
Sure.
So what have your learnings, and who has inspired you to say, I'm just jumping in and doing it?
Yeah. So I'm sure you've seen my LinkedIn. It's more fun. It's not product driven. I do run our company LinkedIn, which I keep that to product driven type things, but my LinkedIn is fun. And, the whole thing for me is like, okay, people take themselves way too seriously on the internet. Like, it is the internet. Like, calm down a little bit and just have some fun, because people get on LinkedIn, again, people might not like to admit this, but it's the truth, to escape the real world. That's the point of social media, is you want to get on there and you want to see what other people are doing. If I post something about a new connector, you're not going to care.
I'm not excited.
Right? No. But if I put a funny video that you can relate to in regards to sales, or something about one of my dogs, that just gets a better response. And I think the reason why is because people want to get on social media to learn more about you. And I'm not a selfish person, but when it comes to social media, you should promote yourself. It is your own brand, right? And you can do that and elevate others and have a good time. But just be yourself on there and let the chips fall where they may. Don't take yourself so seriously where you're like, oh my God, I have to keep this product. Like, have a little bit of fun and let your personality come through.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way for you to build relationships, is just to be yourself on social media. There can be a professional version of yourself where someone reaches out to you about a product. Be professional. But if you're a funny person or someone who likes outdoor stuff or likes whatever, let that come through in your social profile. That's literally the purpose of it. And for whatever reason, LinkedIn's got this weird stigma where it's like, well, you need to keep everything business driven. It's like, really? Do I? Like, if you look at all the people who are really successful on LinkedIn, they're not talking about that stuff. They're not. And I don't know if I could ever get to that level, but for me, I just want to be myself, have a good time, poke some fun at the sales process a little bit, maybe ruffle some feathers. And that's the point of it for me. And it's a lot of fun. I don't take myself.
It has to be fun. Yeah. I've done some where I put, behind the scenes video on where I'm laughing or blips. Right. Yeah. And it's just, and you can see people likes it. It's not that I do it every day, but I sprinkled it in.
Right. But I think it's because it shows who you really are. Yeah. And that's what people connect to. People don't connect to, oh, there's Rob posting another power cord. They just don't care about that. It's okay.
You have to do memes now around there.
Right. But exactly. But those are successful. But I think people are I don't know if I should say that, but I think people are a little hesitant to be themselves on LinkedIn. And I think maybe that's pressure from upper management. Maybe that's some sort of weird idea that they've convinced themselves that, a customer may see this and not like it or something. Like, it's like, dude, you're on the internet. Stop it. Like, have a little bit of fun, So that's my theory on it. Maybe it'll backfire and bite me in the butt, but it's a hill I'll die on.
No. So what's your biggest challenge now that we're coming out of the pandemic, right? Now you can actually meet your customers face to face again.
Yeah. So for us, we're in the South. So we haven't had as many COVID restrictions as other places in the country. So we've been out on the road for
ever? No.
I mean, for 3 months, really. Things have not been overly difficult to see customers. I mean, as you can imagine, the larger customers still are pretty restrictive, which makes sense from a legal perspective. But the biggest challenge for us right now, which I think a lot of people are struggling with, is just shipping product. And most of our customers understand that. We try to be straightforward with them. But as reps, and any rep who's watching this can relate to it, we don't get paid until the product ships, it's delivered, it's paid for, and it works. So I could have $3 million worth of backlog, but I can't go to the grocery store and pay my bills with backlog. So for us, it's really about how do we ship product, and also forecasting, right? I actually put something on LinkedIn about it, but let's say you get a lead time of 20 weeks, I don't take that as gospel. I tell my customers, hey, this is kind of what we're looking at. But it's really trying to get your arms around the entire process and saying, okay, it says 20 weeks, it could be 30, just so your customers can prepare for that. So it's really all supply chain related. What's so crazy is coming out of COVID, business in general hasn't slowed down, and it's honestly in a way picked back up, and, people are buying a lot of stuff. They have a lot of needs, part of it's they can't find things, but the other part of it, which is really interesting, is I was on a call in Raleigh, and I think for the first time in a long time, engineers are actually starting to work on new projects.
Oh, that's nice.
During COVID, everyone was just trying to maintain. Let's just maintain, which makes sense. But now that, like you said, we're starting to really come out of it, I think that people are starting to make new designs, work on new projects. And I think engineers are excited about that. So it's a good thing.
That's good. Anything you want to try as a manufacturing rep, that you're saying, hey, I want to try either this marketing strategy or this new email or something. Have you something in your sleeve that you can share?
Yes. And I'm working on building it, and maybe you can test it with me.
Okay.
But what I'm using is, and I'll tell everyone this, and, you should check it out too, because I think I don't know if it's going to work, but it would definitely be something fun to experiment with. But I would really like to do sales calls and trade shows in the metaverse. So there is a website called spatial.io, which I'm on, where you actually can create an avatar of yourself. But the great thing about it is you can create conference rooms. And inside of these conference rooms, you can just take your phone and you can actually scan objects three-dimensionally. So, if I wanted to take, my beautiful Ravens coffee mug here and 3D scan it with my phone, I could actually put it in the conference room. If you were to join it, you could come and check it out. You could pick it up. You could move it around on your screen, so you would see the whole thing. I think that would be really cool with products like circuit breakers, enclosures, things that you could actually see and hold. And it would be a really just interesting way to get a bunch of people in a room at one time. And it wouldn't be a Teams call. Not that I love Teams calls and I think they're highly effective, but I just think it would be a different way of doing things where you could actually visually see it. And it's called spatial.io. And it's really cool. I don't know if it's going to work. I've experimented it with one customer and they thought it was really cool. But I haven't rolled it out across the territory yet, because I need to become a little bit more of a master on the software before I do that.
Yeah, no, that sounds really fun, right? That could be a great product introduction as well.
Exactly.
Right. That could be the first step. Right. So, I want to hear how that goes.
Yeah, for sure. And then again, I have a lobby and I have like an account or whatever. So, maybe one day you can jump in there and we can.
In there. Yeah.
I've got this beautiful. I should get bonus points for this, but here's a chassis mount filter from Schaffner. Yeah. We could scan this in there and just see how. You got to experiment with stuff like that. It's not a perfect science. So
no. What about if you have to give an advice to other manufacturing reps? What kind of advice will you give them?
So it's two things. One, do what you say you're going to do. I think a lot of salespeople get a bad rap because of other bad salespeople. So our business philosophy is just do what you say you're going to do. And part of that, and Mark says this all the time, but bad news is better than no news. So if something comes up or, don't be afraid to tell your customer, just be honest with them, be straightforward, step up and say, hey, this is the problem, and let them know, and do what you say you're going to do, and really be an advocate for the customer. Yeah. Manufacturers will come and go, but customers are going to be there forever. Yeah. And then the other thing that I would give advice on is please write better emails. Seriously. I think that's one thing that, salespeople in general, and I'm a work in progress on this. I don't have all the answers, but really make it a point to write better emails, be concise, communicate what you're trying to accomplish, communicate the goal that you're trying to help them achieve. the whole, hey, my name is Rob Brunson. I work for Wallace Electronic Sales. I hope you're doing well today. Look, if I could just get 20 minutes of your time to meet on, it's like, please stop. Oh my God. Like it makes us look so bad. Please stop. Just say, hey, notice you were doing this. We have this solution. Do you have any thoughts on that? Just keep it simple, and some of the emails I see just made me want to put my head through a wall. So those would be the two things is, do what you say you're going to do. Be a rock solid person and be reliable. And then secondly, write better emails.
Oh yeah. Okay. Note taking.
Yeah.
I'm curious because if I've been exploring just looking at manufacturing website and then manufacturing reps websites, what's going on with the manufacturing reps on their website? There's like dinosaurs in there. There's the ones where they're a little bit more high tech, but I'm like, why are they not addressing that it's important to have a website and to keep it updated? Because if you just have it, right, it's like wallpaper where nothing happens.
Right. That's a good, I think it's the electronic world in general is an older generation type of market, and that's okay. But websites just weren't as important even 10 years ago as it is today. So we take a lot of pride in our website. We have a featured manufacturer every month and, we update that accordingly. We have all of our interviews on there with our manufacturers, which is fun.
Awesome.
And there's a get to know us page where you can go look at me. My picture is, by the way, if you go on our website, my picture is horrible. It is so bad.
You should open your eyes a little more. No?
Yeah, it is so bad. Oh my God. But there's a way that you can email us, contact us. So for us, when we designed our website, we wanted it to be more as a tool. Whereas
you guys understand it. That's what I've seen, right? That's why when I found you on YouTube and then went on, on the website, I was like, oh my God, you guys get it. But looking into the future, right? I believe that if some of these manufacturing reps are not going to look at their website and actually put good content on it,
right,
they are going to be really dinosaurs.
Right. The thing, so I guess the one thing I can understand is that reps, we don't sell anything, right? So I don't have a bunch of power cords and, behind my office over there. No. And, you know what I mean? So I think that's part of it is there's no transaction that's really occurring on the website. For us, again, it's more so of being a tool. So if for whatever reason, an engineer stumbles on our website and they see a power cord and they say, I'm pretty interested in that. We want to give them a way to contact us. Yeah. We'll get them in touch with the proper person in their territory. And then just go from there. But I think a lot of the hang up might have been, we're not distributors, we're not manufacturers. So we're not making anything like a manufacturer would. We're not holding any stock the way the distributor would. We're not shipping anything the way both of them would. So I think for a lot of reps, it was, well, why do we need a website when we're not processing any transactions? I don't agree with that way of thinking. But since you posed the question, I think that's maybe a logical explanation. Yeah. But you definitely need to have at least a functioning website. You don't have to have a Twitter or a LinkedIn but you definitely need a functioning website in 2022. Yeah.
No, I get it. And it takes time as well, right? And effort to do it. But I think it's so important if somebody is stumbling on your website that they can see, oh, this is the team. This is how we work, right? With engineers. This is how we work with distribution. This is how we work with manufacturing. Because if you can get that message out, you are already a little bit closer to that engineer.
For sure. And even going down to understanding this territory that you cover.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're an engineer in Canada and you stumble upon my page, I'll do you a solid and help you out, but I really can't help you. I'll get you in touch with the right rep or the manufacturer or whatever. But, and that's another thing. It's like, well, what territory do you cover? Oh, well, I'm in Canada. Well, I live in North Carolina. What do you want from me? You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. And it's just technology in general. Like most people, do most of their work on their phone because we're an on-the-go society. So someone needs to be able to access your website. That's another thing too, is make sure your website is geared for mobile devices. Yeah. Don't just have it on their desktop. Most people aren't sitting at a desktop all day. There's not.
No. Sannah. What about how has your relationship with your customer? How has that changed? Are you back to what you did before the pandemic? Even though I know you said you've been on the road for a couple of months already. But are you meeting everybody face to face, or do you have half the meetings now? It's just on Teams and Zoom instead. How has that changed your day to day?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a hybrid, and I think that the hybrid model is without a doubt here to stay. That's not going away anytime soon. So one thing that we found is, and we don't have the exact science on this yet, but I think what's going to end up happening is not that every customer is not important, but your really high priority customers where you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 designs in there, just by default, you're going to have to go see them. You're going to have to be in the building to understand the projects, make sure everything's going smoothly. And then maybe your smaller customers who you're selling 1 or 2 things to, which is also okay. A Teams meeting would probably be justified.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, obviously, the one great thing about nothing's great about COVID, but one great takeaway from COVID is just Teams calls in general. Again, yeah. I said this earlier in the meeting, but today I have a customer in South Carolina. I'm in North Carolina, and we were on a call with someone in Hong Kong. Yeah. And just the ability to be able to accomplish those kind of things in real time that's a huge advantage. And I hope salespeople naturally want to be on the road, and they naturally want to be in front of people. And I think that's awesome. And honestly, it's the most effective way to get things done. Yeah. But with Teams and Zoom and the access to people at all times of the day, that's something that you should not take advantage of. You should be taking advantage of that from this day forward, you know, and don't lose sight of that. And that's one thing I worry about. Now what's going to happen is, everyone it's a vicious circle. So at first everyone was uncomfortable about doing Teams calls, and then everyone wanted to do Teams calls. And then there was Teams call fatigue. And now we're going to see Teams calls aren't effective. Yeah. It's like, it's all BS, right? It's just, you adapt a little bit, you know what I mean? Teams calls are highly
effective. The fashion, right? It will come back.
That's right. The 70s jeans are in right now. My wife's got the bell bottom.
I can't do it. I can't.
It looks like, straight out of the 70s, like she's been listening to Jefferson Airplane or something all day. So
she's famous. No. Yeah. One more. So now that you work with all these engineers and young engineers and older engineers, how do they go and find information? Are they searching, or are they calling you? Where are they finding their information?
So I think with more standard products, they're just searching, which makes sense. Your DigiKeys of the world, Google's obviously a pretty popular website. But with custom things and more niche items that, one, they might not understand, and 2, something that they have an idea, like, okay, this is what I think. I don't really know how to accomplish that. They'll tend to call us, so we can get them in front of manufacturers. The good thing about being a rep is when you see a bunch of different customers all the time, you naturally become creative when it comes to solution-based things. You see something that maybe this guy did over here, or something that this girl did over here, and then you say, that could work maybe over here. Yeah. And then, you can share that as long as it's not confidential with your customer. So I think, standard parts and, like a semiconductor is a semiconductor, right? So they're going to search the internet for that. But as far as custom stuff goes, being able to design, what their dream is, there's a need for reps, and they'll probably reach out to you just because we have that direct relationship with the factory. Yeah.
What about leads? Do you work with manufacturers that's great at giving you the leads? And if they are, what are they doing? Or are you the one saying, hey, we know our customer base, we're doing all this lead generation?
Yeah. So I guess the answer to that would be both. It's a little bit more heavily skewed for us. Again, we're go-getters, we take pride in being proactive instead of reactive. I could sit here all day and wait for someone to send me an email or wait for someone to call me. That's not really our business model for us. It's what can we do to be proactive? How do we get in front of people? What's our value proposition? How can we help? We do have some manufacturers who do give us leads. Schaffner and Quell are 2 who are really good at that. I don't know if you know Kimball or Scott Lindbergh, but they work with Graham Kilshaw of Electrics. Are you familiar with Graham? Okay, so Graham works with them, and we call them Electrics leads because that's Graham's company. So what they do is they use a white paper system, and basically they send it to engineers and you have to sign up. And basically what that tells us is it's a really hot lead in the sense of, well, if this guy wants to look at this high voltage lighting filter, he'll give us his information if he's really that interested in it, which means there's probably some kind of an application. And, that's what we do with Graham, and, they do a really good job with that. But even with Graham and with Quell and with Schaffner, we're still doing our own marketing for those companies as well. Again, being proactive instead of reactive. Also, it's our job. So, we try to make sure that we do that too. So it's definitely a combination of both.
And it's not just one thing that works, right? It is have a little bit of everything, and then that's how that comes in.
Right. And for us, really from a Wallace standpoint, our whole entire strategy is being completely vertical. We have a saying that, whenever we talk to a customer, it's show me that you know me. Right. And if I reach out to someone who makes vending machines about, something that they would never use, they're going to be like, why in the world are you sending me this? So for us, whenever we send out any kind of email campaign or customer outreach, it's really important for us to show the customer that we know what they do and that we're not wasting their time. And can say, hey, here's the things that we can help you on. We have 20 plus manufacturers that we represent, but we can really help you with 4 things. And I think that establishes credibility for us in our organization.
Definitely, right? You actually took the time to find out what will be of interest of them and where you bring the value.
Yeah, it's really easy to send an email that says, hey, you want to buy something from me? But I don't know if that's really that effective. Not today. And that's kind of gets back to, writing better emails. People know when you're just sending out a massive blast to people, so you really need to keep it vertically integrated so people know that you've done the research on the company. It'll establish credibility. What we always talk about is you can send an email in 5 minutes, or you can take 15 minutes and send a really good email. So which one do you want to do? Volume or quality, you choose.
Oh, it's all about quality, right? It's the same with the content on your website.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right. Good quality there. So thank you so much. It was great, Rob. I really loved it. So if any of the listeners today want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn at Rob Brunson. I've got a little wizard emoji beside me, and my picture's a cartoon. Like I said, completely fun. I think my YouTube channel is called Rob Brunson. I don't know. I think that's what it is. And then, you can always go to our website. It's west-inc.com. You can find me there and the rest of our team. Again, we cover those 6 states. You'll see my picture. I actually don't look terrible today, but my picture on the website, I'm telling you, is so bad. So
now everybody want to go there, right?
You should definitely go check it out. Screenshot it, put it on LinkedIn, and you guys can roast me. I can take it.
I'll use that when I promote this episode. No.
And then, if you're into dogs, my wife and I, we run a nonprofit organization that actually moves dogs out of kill shelters into no kill shelters or foster homes. And that's everybodylovesdogs.org. And we're really proud of that. We started it during COVID when everyone started adopting a bunch of dogs, and we knew that eventually they would be returned. So that's one thing that we did, and we're very proud of that. So love us some dogs.
Yeah, love the dogs. Good. And I will, I'll put also, some of these links, I'll put that on the mindinnovation.com on the website, specific for this episode. And it will also be in the show notes. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. It was a lot of fun, and we should definitely jump in that, the metaverse thing. And
how do we?
I would like to get your feedback on it. Just to see.
We'll figure it out.
For sure. Sounds good.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mind Innovation Special Edition about modern marketing for manufacturing companies and manufacturing reps. New episodes are dropping bi-weekly, so make sure you're following wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on LinkedIn, search for Sannah Vinding. You can also find me on YouTube, search for Mind Innovation, or go to my website, sannahvinding.com, or check out mindinnovation.com. Stay curious and keep learning.